This is the Yes We Canada podcast, the progressive's guide to getting the fuck out. This episode, Augmented Unreality. And now, please welcome your host, medium rock star, public intellectual. Wait, Pi, when did he start getting billing in the opening?
He just renegotiated his contract.
I thought this was an independent podcast. Who did he negotiate his contract with?
Himself. He gave himself billing from himself.
Oh. Okay. Whatever. Can you pick me up at Medium Rockstar?
Sure.
And now, please welcome your host, Medium Rockstar, public intellectual, Matt Zimble.
Thank you, Lisa. I love the new billing. Where did that come from? It's very classy, very classy. Okay, let's do this. President George W. Bush Jr. had nicknames for everyone in his oval circle. You know how it rolls, right? The scions of the old money coastal elite don't have to do the dishes or clean their rooms, so they've got lots of time on their hands for pranks, hijinks, and, well, bestowing nicknames. What a hoot. Tickety-boo. Bush's principal presidential advisor and deputy chief of staff, Karl Rove, was nicknamed, Turd Blossom. I'll let that sink in. Turd Blossom. A Texas flower so durable that it grows in cow shit. Pi, do you want to have a crack at that one? Shitty work, my friend, shitty work. Bush called Rove Turd Blossom because Rove was apparently brilliant at taking a troubling situation, i.e. a shitty situation, and turning it around. Allowing the president to relax and take time to smell the blossoms. Karen, honey, get Turd Blossom on the line, would you? Now, here's why this is important. These are dark times, and leftist podcasters such as myself have been pummeled for repeatedly asking this question. How did we get here? How do we get to a place where science no longer matters, where the Constitution is optional, where congressional subpoenas now come with a RSVP? All this while your government is telling you what you were seeing on TV is not what you were seeing on TV. How did we get here? Bear with me, because I'm going to go full quasi-intellectual on you here, but just for a hot minute. In 2004, the American journalist Ron Suskind reported that an unnamed senior White House aide told him that the liberal media was living in what the Bush administration called the, quote, reality-based community, end quote. A community made up of people who, quote, believe that solutions emerge from judicious study of discernible reality. That's not the way the world really works anymore, the aide continued. We're an empire now, and when we act, we create our own reality. And while you journalists are studying that reality judiciously as you will, we'll act again, creating other new realities, which you can study too, and that's how things will sort out. We're history's actors, and you, all of you, will be left to just study what we do, end quote. And may I just say, WDM, WTF. That quote on Deep Background reportedly came directly from the mouth of Turd Blossom. No, Pi, we're good. We don't need to hear that again. So, let's fast forward from 2004 to 2017. It's a warm January day in Washington, and Kellyanne Conway, the first woman to ever chair a winning presidential campaign, has just been installed as a senior counselor to President Trump. Kellyanne is doing a double-ender on NBC's show Meet the Press from the South Lawn of the White House. In the background, the trees are bare, but the grass is green, and the white columns of the People's House look majestic as the wind blows gently through Conway's bleach blonde power dew. She's sporting a short-sleeved décolleté black top, adorned with a presidential gold seal the size of a mason jar lid. Too big to be a brooch, too small to be a badge. It must be the newly minted presidential broach. Let me set the table.
You just set the table. We're at the White House. It's warm. January. Is it warm in January at the White House? Anyway, Kellyanne's doing a media hit. How much more table do you need? I think we're good, man.
Good point, Pi. It's just 2 days into the first Trump administration as Kellyanne glares defiantly at the camera. Why? Because she's there to clean up a mess. Thank you, Pi. You see, just the day before, the very first day of the new administration, the newly appointed press secretary, Sean Spicer, declared in his first statement issued to the press pool that Trump's inauguration had, quote, been the most watched presidential inauguration in history, end quote. Come on, Kelly. Come on, Kelly. You can spin this. You're a pro. Whip out your talking points, girl. Walk back some shit. You can do this. Come on, girl. You got this.
You're saying it's a falsehood, and they're giving Sean Spicer, our press secretary, gave alternative facts to that.
Alternative facts are not facts. They're falsehoods.
Oh, Kelly. So close, sweetie. So close. You too can create your own augmented reality. Now let's fact forward again from 2017 to 2026. Same lawn, different Trump counselor.
We're not going to let Tim Pot communist dictators send rapists into our country, send drugs into our country, send weapons into our country.
That's Stephen Miller, a nice Jewish boy from a liberal family in Southern California who hates immigrants. And I'll explain why his immigrant hating is kind of adorable in a sec. But first, let's let the man spew a little augmented unreality for his American exceptionalist audience, shall we?
For years, we sent our soldiers to die in deserts in the Middle East to try to build them parliaments, to try to build them democracies, to try to give them more oil, to try to give them more resources. The future of the free world, Jake, depends on America being able to assert ourselves and our interests without apology. This whole period that happened after World War II, where the West began apologizing and groveling and begging
I don't even
and
know,
engaging these
honestly,
vast
what you're talking
reparation
about
schemes.
right now.
What I'm talking about, Jake, is the idea. And by the way, you do. I know you love doing that smarmy thing, Jake, and I was hoping to be better than that this time.
I asked you about if there should be an election.
Exactly.
I asked you if there would be an election in Venezuela. That's what I asked. I said, why was the president so quick to dismiss Machado? You answered that question. And then I said,
the objective, Jake, is security and stability for the people of Venezuela. With our help and leadership, that country will become more prosperous than it has ever been in its whole history. Venezuelans
but the
will
woman
be richer
running Venezuela
and
right
safer
now is
and
part
more
of the Maduro
secure and
regime.
better off. Well, there will be conversations, Jake, about all of these guideposts along the way. The reason why I was giving you that speech, which I know you didn't want to hear, is because you're approaching this from the wrong frame. This neoliberal frame that the United States' job is to go around the world and demanding immediate elections be held everywhere, immediately, all the time, right away. To create these vacuums.
That's not what I think, but you invaded the country. We went into the country and we seized the leader of Venezuela.
Damn straight we did.
Oh my God, there's nothing like the bracing feeling of full-throated American eminence with a hearty gulp of exceptionalism to make you feel alive. Baby! I'm pretty sure that in Diplomat University, they don't teach you the phrase,
damn straight we did.
Stevie, I think the diplomatic language is more like, I couldn't agree more. Or perhaps, indeed. Or, precisely. People, can I get a precisely? But, exceptionalism aside, I know exceptionalism doesn't ever go aside, you don't have to be a public intellectual to see the direct line from Karl Rove's
We're an empire now, and when we act, we create our own reality. We're history's actors, and all of you will be left just to study what we do.
to Stephen Miller's
We live in a world, in the real world, that is governed by strength, that is governed by force, that is governed by power.
Yep, it's a short ride in a clown car between those 2 points. Do you want to hear some Canadian exceptionalism? Of course you do. But first, a warning. It's a kinder, gentler kind of exceptionalism.
The middle powers must act together because if we're not at the table, we're on the menu.
Nom, 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 oh, nom, 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 nom.
What were you expecting? We're Canadians. We're a middle power. We don't do exceptionalism. Our jam is politeness, inclusive modesty, and speaking quietly while carrying a middle-sized stick.
Boss? Yep. Yeah. Whoa, whoa! Yeah! Yes. Go.
Really close.
Hard.
Look at this.
It comes, punches it out, it stays. It will be for 3. What a shot.
That is beautiful.
Oh, that's curling, and the middle-sized stick is a broom, and that's about as excited as a Canadian gets in international circles, sweeping the ice, just like Minneapolis did. Respect from the north, y'all. Okay, I promised you guys we'd circle back to Stephen Miller. Aww. Guys, come on. I read about scumbags so you don't have to. A little respect, please. Thank you. As an amateur freelance pundit, it's my esteemed view that right now there are 2 white men working for an orange man who are wielding more power in America than any cabinet secretary, congressperson, or judge. In fact, while MODIS, moron of the United States, is focused on building a ballroom, sticking gold doohickeys all over the Oval, and bumming $400 million jets off the Qataris for his personal use, these 2 angry white nationalist men are overseeing the ICE shootings of American citizens in the streets and the evisceration of the Constitution. The first is Russell Voigt. He's been called the shadow president. He's also been called a white Christian nationalist. And he's the head of the Office of Budget and Management. Sexy. He's one of the chief architects of the Heritage Foundation's fascist blueprint for Trump's second term called Project 2025.
Project 25. He's involved in Project, and then they read some of the things, and they are extreme. I mean, they're seriously extreme. But I don't know anything about it. I don't want to know anything about it.
I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it.
They keep talking about Project 2025.
Now, I'm sure you know this already, but Project 2025 was a plan put forward by the far-right Heritage Foundation, written while Trump was in Mar-a-Lago for 4 years, stuffing top-secret Pentagon invasion plans into cardboard boxes to be safely stowed next to toilets in guest rooms. Strip away the Project 2025's fascist pleasantries, and the message was this. Trump, you fucking unfocused moron. You wasted your first term with palace intrigue and by being bossed around by the deep state in a failed effort to make you look presidential. Fuck that shit. For the second term, here's our agenda and the playbook on how to get rid of the deep state and rule like a real right-wing white Christian nationalist autocrat. And if you're a good boy, we'll let you attack Venezuela. And, maybe, Iran. Boom. Done. Now, we might study Russell Voigt a little later if I don't get bored by all this talk about angry white men, but right now we're going to pivot to Stephen Miller, Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy and Senior Counselor to MODIS. Immigration is his jam, and he's highly skilled at separating brown families from their children, deporting immigrants, including a few American citizens, to foreign jails in countries that are not even their birthlands, and shooting American citizens while they are exercising their constitutional First Amendment rights to protest. Shooting them dead in the streets. Well, Stevie's a 41-year-old, nice Jewish boy, as we mentioned. He was raised in a liberal family in Southern California. His mother's father, his grandpa, was a Jewish-Russian immigrant who arrived in the U.S. in 1903 with $8 in his pockets after fleeing the Russian pogroms.
$8 in 1903? In today's money, that's, let me see here, $300. American. The man was a mogul.
Okay, fact forward to today. Permit me to speak directly to Stephen Miller. Steve, under your immigration laws, your maternal grandfather would not have been allowed in the U.S. today. And if he had remained in his village of Antipol, which is in Belarus, he would have very likely been killed by the Nazis a few years later because only 7 of the 2,000 Jews in Antipol survived World War II. Now, I'm no geneticist, but no grandpa, no mama, no Stevie. And just to bust a mighty hole in your anti-immigrant balloon, your grandpa, Stevie, came to America with nothing.
Sorry, Matt, but $300, that ain't nothing, especially if you're working on this show.
He sold rags on the street. Then he got a cart and sold rags from the cart. Then he got a store and upgraded the rags to clothes and sold clothes from the store. Then he got a bunch of stores and eventually employed over 1,000 Americans. Americans who bought homes, fed their families, and paid their taxes. Thanks to your immigrant grandpa, your ma had the resources to go to Colombia and become a social worker to help Americans in her community to live better lives. How am I doing, Stevie? Anything resonating with you here? No? Okay. Stevie, you might ask how we came to know so much about your family history. Well, it's 'cause your uncle told me. Yep, I'm sure you'd call it Trump derangement syndrome, but your uncle, David Glosser, a clinical neuroscientist living in Pennsylvania, wrote a hit piece in Politico during the first Trump administration, calling you out for separating immigrant children from their families and ignoring your own genetic path towards being born a free American. 23andMe, Stevie, 23andYou.
With over 150 personalized genetic reports from 23andMe, you can start your DNA-powered health journey today.
Okay, my Yes We Canadians, I need you to stop and think about this for a second. Let's make this Uncle Wright's hit piece scenario personal. Let's say you're so pissed at your nephew, the son of your sister, that you write a hatchet job and publish it nationally, and then do a whack of interviews on TV to promote the article. Oh man, that's gotta fuck up Thanksgiving dinner. But this is not a one and done. It seems that Trump derangement syndrome is so prevalent amongst family members associated with this administration that it's become a publishing cottage industry. Mary Trump, Donald's niece, a PhD psychologist, wrote a book about her Uncle Donnie called Too Much and Never Enough. The Trump family tried to get a restraining order to stop the book's publication, but they were denied, and on its first week of release, it sold 1,350,000 copies, going directly from the warehouse to the top of the New York Times bestsellers list, where it stayed for weeks. Now that's gotta fuck up your family Christmas dinner.
I'm dreaming of a white.
Oh man, that's nothing. I got one here that will fuck up Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas dinner, and Easter brunch. Fearing that the Trump family could harm her, Mary Trump, and once again she's Donald's older brother's daughter, i.e. Donnie's niece, family trees are a lot to manage, I find, surreptitiously recorded 15 hours of conversations she had with her aunt, Mary Ann Trump Berry. That's Donald's eldest sister, now late sister. Now, Mary Ann Trump Berry was not just any old sister. She was a federal judge on the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, and it can be said, without using an ounce of augmented reality, that she was not a huge fan of her younger brother, your current president.
The change of stories, the lack of preparation, the lying.
Oh, that one has to sting. The lack of preparation. You just called your brother unprofessional. Ouch.
The lying, the holy what they're doing with the kids at the border. And he's as tight as a duck's ass.
She added that he did not read books and had someone take the college entrance exam in his place. In the recordings, Berry also criticized the first Trump administration's controversial family separation policy for deporting migrants and the bankruptcies of her brother's businesses, adding that you can't trust them. And, did you hear that reference to tighter than a duck's ass? Pi, I don't suppose you'd like to take a crack at the tighter than a duck's ass, would you? Beautiful, Pi. I think that's the cue we're going to submit to secure you once and for all the nomination for the Best Podcast Audio Engineer of the Year. Or, who knows, maybe we'll just send you in for the Nobel Peace Prize. Don't worry, buddy. I'm on it.
I can't think of anybody in history that should get the Nobel Prize more than me.
Shut up, Modus. Okay. As you can hear, this podcast, which began just moments ago as an elegant morsel of journalism, has descended into tabloid gutter trash detailing the family feuds of the rich and powerful, as well as the G-force of a mallard's sphincter muscles. I hope you're not driving while listening, because when this is over, you are going to need a shower. And please note, it's not that I set out to soil you. I'm just a reporter, a fair and unbalanced reporter. And may I quickly point out that the President of the United States is married to an immigrant, and the Vice President of the United States is married to a vegetarian.
But how did we get here?
Shut up. That's not a reporter. That's a millennial podcaster. Here's how we got here. Here's the moment at a glamorous Washington, D.C. White House Correspondents' Banquet dinner in 2015 that Donald Trump said, "Fuck it, I'm running for president."
Everybody, please have a seat. Donald Trump is here tonight. All kidding aside, obviously we all know about your credentials and breadth of experience. For example, no, seriously, just recently in an episode of Celebrity Apprentice at the steakhouse, the men's cooking team did not impress the judges from Omaha Steaks. And there was a lot of blame to go around, but you, Mr. Trump, recognized that the real problem was a lack of leadership. And so ultimately you didn't blame Little John or Meatloaf. You fired Gary Busey. And these are the kind of decisions that would keep me up at night.
Yeah, thanks, Obama.
I take the fact that he develops weapons of mass destruction very seriously.
The point of the pod is this. You see now how much easier it was for George W. Bush to be a cruel right-wing conservative exceptionalist, willing to kill 500,000 innocent Iraqi citizens, because he created the augmented unreality that weapons of mass destruction were a threat to the United States. You see how much fun it was to create your own augmented unreality when your inauguration attendance numbers fell far short of Obama's.
I believe that we have to be honest with the American people. I think sometimes we can disagree with the facts. Photographs of the inaugural proceedings were intentionally framed in a way to minimize the enormous support that had gathered on the National Mall. This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period. Okay, this is silly. Okay, next. And you don't get to just yell out questions. We're going to raise our hand like big boys and girls.
Sorry, Donnie. The black dude with the birth certificate and the actual Nobel Peace Prize, the guy who teased you at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, had the most watched presidential inauguration in the history of the world, and that has to hurt. You see how thrilling it is to send 3,000 camo-clad goons into Minneapolis to shoot and kill American citizens in the street based on the augmented unreality you created by falsely claiming that immigrants were murderers, rapists, and pet-eating mental cases. And Republicans, my lapdogs, just a word to you spineless, besooted morons. You could have created a pathway to citizenship. Instead, you bought into a mentally deranged orange man's augmented unreality. The same augmented unreality that shipped off a U.S. naval carrier group to the Middle East when your son-in-law and real estate buddy from New York couldn't conclude a deal with Iran. Because you ripped up the Iran nuclear arms treaty agreement that the black guy signed in 2015. You could have kept negotiating with Iran, and if you had, 175 young girls going to school in Manab, Iran, would still be alive today. Modus, I believe you have 2 daughters and 4 granddaughters. Am I right about that? There's no need for science. There's no need for data. No need for truth. No need for the principles set out by the Founding Fathers in the Constitution. No need for the rules-based international order. And Stevie, certainly, no need for 23 and me. Republicans have created their very own fact-free augmented unreality. And all of us, we're just living in it. And for this, we can thank the father of augmented unreality, a political consultant from Texas, Karl Rove, also known as Turd Blossom.
Thanks for listening to Yes We Canada. Our sound designer, engineer, and barnyard audiologist is Pi Salen Cutler. Our theme was written by Doug Wild and Matt Zimbel and performed by Manteca from the recording Monday Night at the Mensa Disco. My name is Lisa Evans, and I'm your announcer. Please consider supporting our independent podcast by subscribing for as little as $3 a month. Go to yeswecanada.buzzsprout.com and hit the support button. You can cancel anytime. Your support means the world to us. Thanks for listening. Until next time.